Hi guys, I'm David with Media Unlocked, and today I'm bringing you a full-on, full-field review of the Feiyutech AK4500. This is to compete with the Crane 3 and an upgrade from the 4000. I have been shooting on it now for about a month. I have done weddings, I have done sports, I have just done basic walking shots. I have done a little bit of everything, and I absolutely love this thing. Now, at the very end, we'll talk about a few things I don't like about it, but I think what I do like about it overcomes what I don't like about it. This thing has been a workhorse, a beast, and a lot of fun shooting over the last month. So let's talk about price tag. You're running about $750. Now, that does include their accessory kit, which we're going to dive right into here in a second. And that accessory kit has some really nice things in it, as well as you get the case to put the gimbal in. And you can order on Amazon or right through their actual website. And as always, there'll be a link in a card and a link at the end of this video, so you can go check it out if you do like this review. So it does do a 10-pound weight load. So you can put up to 10 pounds on this, which is fantastic, because that means you're gonna be able to put some heavier cameras on there, like a 1DX4 or 5. I don't even know what they're up to right now. I think they're up to 1DX4. So something like that with a 16 and 35 should be able to hold that, and maybe not with a battery grip, but without the battery grip and like a 16 and 35, it should be able to hold that just fine. Now, what all do you get? You get this styrofoam case. I really wish they would come up with a different casing system. I'm not a huge fan of the styrofoam case, but again, it's not that big of a deal. And honestly, when I'm using this half the time, it doesn't even go back into the case. So you get some cords for your Nikon, Canon cameras. I believe Panasonic and Sony do it wirelessly, and I do show how to do that in my video. We'll talk a little bit about the time-lapse functions that this thing offers. I make a time-lapse video, and I go over how to actually connect through the app, how to actually connect to the gimbal. So if you are wanting to learn how to connect your wireless connectivity, Sony's, Panasonic's, click over here. There'll be a card, and you can go watch the time-lapse video and learn how to connect your phone through the app to the camera and to the gimbal. It's awesome. So you just get some charging cords here, as you can see. These, and as well as different cords for connecting different cameras. Then you get this little piece up here where you can set this on your right here, and you're able to screw in some other attachments if you do need other attachments, which is really nice if you are someone that needs those attachments. I have yet to use that piece, but it's nice to have. And then you get this piece that's going to work with that sits. If you have a longer, heavier lens, you want to, and what we'll do is, this piece is going to sit underneath where your focus ring is. So this will help steady it. So you pretty much put it under here, and it will help keep it from going up or down if it's a really long lens. Let's take a look at the accessory kit. Now this thing's pretty awesome. So we'll open her up, and we'll kind of go over everything you get at the accessory kit. So you do get, which I love this piece right here. So this piece is to hook pretty much another arm to the gimbal. And what this does is this actually goes in like this, and it's really tight, and it slides in. So there we go. And usually it slides in a little bit easier, but mainly it has rivets that it fits into, and it slides in. And then you would screw it down, and this allows for you to have this back piece connected to it. So again, what we do is this, and let's see if I can get it to slide in this. There we go. And so now you have an extra arm right here, which is really nice. As well, and we'll take this off because it's blocking the screen right here for when we jump over and talk about the menus. And then you would just screw it in with these two screws right here. You have a full follow focus kit right here. And then you have this really awesome magical wireless controller. So if you have a way to send signal via Wi-Fi to like a phone or something like that, you can set the phone here, and you can actually set this up to control the gimbal wirelessly. They talk to each other. So for those of you that would like to know how to actually connect this to your gimbal, it's actually super simple. You're going to hit the right side right here. You're just going to hit it once. It's going to take you into something that says about and set. You want to do set, but you're not hitting buttons. All we're doing is taking the joystick right here and we're pushing to our right. And we're going to keep pushing to our right all the way to the very top function. You want to push all the way to your right where it says scan. So mainly it's scanning and it's looking for this. It sees it. So we're going to push to the right again. It is now connected. And now we'll hit the side button to go back out to the main menus. And let's see here. And there you go. It just took a second to connect. And now I'm going side to side, up and down. And this is all wirelessly. Hit again. Boom, boom. And you can even connect it. There's a second way you can connect it to actually control the movement as you're holding this gimbal. If you are holding this joystick, you can actually control those movements. So you can actually move side to side, up and down, and it will actually work just as if it was connected to the gimbal, which is really, really cool. So there's the wireless arm. So again, this piece could go on the top of here, and then if you had your camera could send signal, you could actually be connected to it with your camera right here, and then you could see everything that's happening and have full control over the gimbal. So if you just have someone operating it. Something I did suggest to them was that they should make a wireless monitor that could connect to the camera via, let's say, HDMI. And then that wireless monitor would connect to the gimbal, and then you would actually have no loss signal straight to your magical wireless wand here. I think that'd be really cool if they made that, or they teamed up with another company to help build that into their system. It'd be really cool to have a monitor come with your gimbal that you could control with a wireless piece here. So anyways, we're going to turn this off and we're going to move on. All right. So we are going to jump right into the menu system real quick. It's pretty simple. It's very similar to all the other Feiyutech AK systems. There's just a few extra bells and whistles in this system that we did not have in previous systems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn it on so you guys can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll all the way to the right. So if you connect to the app via the Sony camera, since it is wireless and it does not take a connectivity cord, some kind of cord that would actually connect into the system itself. So if you're doing it all wirelessly, you connect wirelessly to your camera first, then you go into the app, and again, you kind of walk through a couple settings on connecting to your camera once it's connected to your phone. However, we do have a video on that. During the time-lapse video, I actually show you how to do the connectivity part. Again, that will be in a card over here to my left, I guess. It'll be here, yeah, somewhere there'll be a card that you can hit pop out and go look at it and learn how to connect everything together. So if you have it all connected, you can actually pick your white balance or Kelvin temperature, right? So, which is fantastic. It's all touchscreen, and then if you need to go back, just hit this button on the right one time, and it will take you back to the front. So again, right here, now if you want to be able to control your ISO or your EV here, plus or negative, and then you can do it, and you can jump back and forth here, as you can see. So you have control over ISO and then EV compensation, so which is really, really nice. So we'll hit this again, we'll take it out to the front. Now if you want to ever lock this so you can't touch it, just hit it once, it will lock, and now you can't touch the touch screen. It'll just let you know, no way buddy, we're locked. Hit it again, and it will be unlocked. Now you have 4 different modes here. And then you can hit each one. So this is lock mode. Lock mode is where everything's locked. So you can pick it up, everything's locked. Ooh, nothing's happening. I'm all locked up. Okay. Then you can hit HF mode, which is pan and follow mode. So it will pan and follow, which is fantastic. And you can speed this up and slow this down in their app. The app is super intuitive and very, very easy to use. Much Much less confusing than like the Crane app, the Zion Crane app. I have used that, and that is one of the more confusing apps. It does give you a lot more control over your gimbal, which is nice, but it also is a lot more confusing on figuring out exactly how to manage all the settings to get the gimbal to function the exact way you want it to. Much easier on this system. So next is TF mode, which is pan, tilt, follow mode. Now this is a mode I really, really like and I use quite a bit. So you can go pan, and then if I go up, the camera will go up. If I come down, the camera will come down. So if you're trying to do some kind of very specific shot, look, and as I go up, it will go up with me, which is fantastic. It makes things really easy. All right, and then we have one more mode. I also really, really like the tripod mounts that are on the bottom of this. And I'm sure they'll loosen up eventually. They're super, super tight right now, but I just feel like they're really sturdy. And I'm sure over time and use they'll become looser as I pull them back and forth, pull them out and put them back in. But I'm really happy with them so far. All right, and then the last one is AF mode, which is all follow mode. So again, it's gonna follow whatever way you want to go. So it's just gonna go wherever. So if you're looking for some kind of crazy shot, I've really not used that mode very much. Now, one thing to mention, so if we get, let's say we go woo-woo-doo, and we're like that, and we want to get everything reset to the front, there's a button on the very front, just tap it twice, and it will reset. Now, however, if it resets, it's always going to reset to HF mode, which again is the pan follow mode where you go side to side. It will always reset to that. So if you're using one of these other modes and you double tap it to reset it, remember it's going to jump to HF mode. Let's say you're using all follow mode here, not all follow mode, but pan and tilt. If you're using pan and tilt right here, then when you double click, and I'll double click, see how it jumps back to HF. So just keep that in mind. If you think you're still in TF mode, you're not. You bounce back to HF mode. So just I want you guys to keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to keep on going. By the way, on button, record, take a picture, and then this will jump between your modes right here. These two modes right here, just to let you know. All right, so now we're going to move on over. 360-degree rotation. Now this is really, really cool. I don't know when I'm going to use it or how I'm going to use it, but this is way easier to do on the 4500 than it was on the 4000. So as you can see, the camera just shot straight up. So what I'm going to do, and actually I will put this down so you guys can actually see what I'm going to hit. You can hit this and it will rotate one time, I believe, one full circle. So, or you can hit, and it will go either way, left or right. You can hit this and it will stop when I tell it to stop. So now, even if I bring it down like this, look at this, it's still turning. And that is just so awesome how easy that is. I don't know when I'm going to use this shot, but I got to find something to use it in because it is just so wild. And then I could hit the opposite way. It will stop and it will start going the opposite way. Now this means that you have to have your camera balanced because those motors are going to work extra hard on something like this. And then you can slow the speed down too. So up at the top, you can slow the speed down, and I'll show you that in 1 second. So now look at it. Look how slow it's going now. So this is just awesome. So let me put this back down. I'll show you how to do the speed real quick, and then we'll move on. More interesting stuff in the menu system. So again, the speed's right here, so you just want to hit your dials right here. So as you can see up at the very top, the speed picks up and slows down like that. Okay, so let's go out. It's going to reset. I'll just double click just to make sure it's all reset. Everything's reset and good to go. Again, going back to HF mode here. So slide to the right. So you have your auto rotation. Now it says, please connect your camera to the gimbal. So you're going to have your camera connected to the gimbal to really use this. You could just preset your camera. If you're doing time-lapse, you could preset your camera to go on and start the time-lapse and then do this without having it connected to the gimbal. That is a workaround. So as the gimbal moves during the time-lapse, you're just having your camera do its own time-lapse, and it will take the time-lapse, and then the gimbal will just move from point A to point B. So that is a workaround if you can't connect or you're having issues with connecting your camera to the gimbal. So it does happen. It's really frustrating. It's taken me a couple different tries to get it to where I can almost get it 100% of the time, every time I want to do it. So we're going to go on and hit continue. So time, you have your pan, your tilt, and then your intervals. So if it's connected, if you've connected your camera, don't worry about the intervals. If you're using an intervalometer or something separately and you're not connected to the gimbal. But your pan and tilt, so I've got my pan and tilt set to 30 minutes, so it will pan and tilt for 30 minutes. You can set those at different times, so they'll go at different speeds, but they're always going to finish, they're always going to start at point A and they're always going to finish at point B, just to let you know. So what we can do is we can hit the side button, will go out, we'll go back into it. So, and so we've looked at the time. You could also use the last configuration. So if you see that, you can hit the last configuration if you like that. I'm going to hit a route. Now again, I have a whole entire video on this. And I haven't edited it yet, so I couldn't tell you how long it is. But we shot it last week during the final bit of things that we wanted to test out on this really awesome gimbal. So there, again, there is a card. Just hit the card. It will pop out, come right out of the screen off to the side, and you can go watch this video and it will walk you through more specifically how to use your time-lapse settings or your pan and tilt settings on a timer if you don't want to do video or you don't want to do photos. You can do one or the other. So we need to set initial point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it. I want to say, boom, I want to start here. I'm going to follow the Milky Way all the way around and watch it set behind the horizon. Okay, and I've done the math to figure out how fast the Milky Way is moving, so that tells me how fast I need this to move. Again, you can go into the app to slow the gimbal speeds up and down, as well as the time that we set for pan and tilt. So we're going to hit OK. Now, where do I want this to finish up at? So what I'm going to do, boom, and I want it to finish right here. So I'll hit OK. And now, look, it's going to go to point A where I set it. And over the next 30 minutes, it's going to work its way all the way over to point B and finish up 30 minutes later. And the whole time, my camera will be capturing audio. Or no, my camera will be capturing pictures or video, depending on what I'm shooting. So sometimes I might do video and then speed it way up. Or other times, I'm just going to be doing time lapses. Now, one thing to mention, make sure that this is weighted down. This moves, it shakes. So if it's not in a stable position and the wind's heavy or something hits it or knocks it, it's going to cause, unless you're using a super fast shutter speed, you're going to get blur in your shot. And you'll see that a little bit in the time lapse that I'm going to pop up now or later on in this video. But I'll actually show you the time lapse and kind of me setting it up a little bit as some B-roll as I'm talking. But you'll notice a little bit of that blurriness and that it's not super tack sharp focus during like 10 seconds of time lapse that we shot in 30 minutes. Just to mention, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so now we're just going to hit escape, bring it back to the front, hit the side, and work our way over. All right, so selfie, boom, you in selfie mode now. Super, super simple, slide over, hit selfie mode. Again, what do we do if we want to reset it? That's right, double tap the front button. It resets every time, it's fantastic. Portrait. So, and then we have our different things here. So as you can see, you can change these depending on what you need and it will do that. Or you can hold down and it will turn it off so it doesn't work at all. Okay, so if you can also hit it in here and it will switch. So but if you hold this down, it will turn itself off, and unless you push the button in, this isn't going to do anything. Double click, reset. All right, so we've gone through those menus. All right, payload settings. You have preset, auto, or custom. So if I was to bring this up, I don't know if you can hear that. That is letting me know the motors are overworking, or mainly that the motors are being forced to work harder than they need to, and it's not happy with me. So I'm going to get that down to where I don't hear that, and and now the motors should be fine. You don't want your motors to overwork and overheat. That's not good. And you can also cause motors to overwork if you put too much weight on the system, or you're changing the weight because it's not properly balanced, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. You can do auto. I don't really like auto. It doesn't ever seem to work very well, so I like preset, or you can make preset custom. You can make custom, but I mostly just do preset. And it seems to do just fine for me. Photo spot. So, depending on what I'm shooting, default, smooth, action, or you can go into custom. So I mostly just jump between smooth and action. Again, you can go in and change some of these settings, I believe, in the app, depending on how fast action you'll need it to be as you're moving, or what axis you're going to be moving and how fast that needs to respond. And then that smooth shot. I use a lot of the smooth shot for like weddings unless I'm doing a really fast action shot. Then I'll move it over to action for a wedding. And we will show some wedding footage throughout this video just so you guys can see some of the footage that can be caught on this. I don't have too much footage of me actually using the gimbal for the simple fact that I was doing most of the shooting by myself. So I didn't have a second person helping me out with that. All right, wheel settings. Oops. Yes, we want to be in English. So wheel settings. Sensitivity, camera control, and autofocus. So that is going to have to do with these wheel settings here. I think you can go in and change that, which I have not used yet. That might also have to do with the follow focus system. You can use this with the follow focus system, I believe. So what the nice thing is that you could be watching the video, they could be doing all the camera work, and you're actually keeping it in focus. So which I think is a really cool system. It's a wireless follow focus system. I have yet to hook it up because most everything I do is autofocus. I rarely have to do manual focus anymore. Autofocus, in my opinion, has just gotten so much better. And then you can hit your settings. You can calibrate, hit language, and that is your menu system. So we're going to proceed on. I know I have already talked a ton about this, but there is so much more to talk about. Because this thing's awesome, and we're going to talk a little bit about how I use it and show some footage. And so let's continue on. So we did talk a little bit about the time-lapse mode. Again, that video, just want to mention, check that video out. It's going to help you out if you want to learn how to do the time-lapse mode. If you want to actually know how to connect your camera, at least for Sony, the Sony camera, to the phone, to the app, so it all works together. The app is not the best app in the world, but it is really simple to use, and the functions they give you make it really, really simplistic, so you're not going to screw something up, which I really, really do like about that. It's kind of dummy-proof, which is fantastic. Again, connectivity, wirelessly, I believe, is Panasonic and Sony, and a Nikon and Canon connect via cords that runs from here, and there's a little USB port right underneath. So it's really nice because it's not going to get in the way of your shots. The cord doesn't have to go that far. Let's see, what else do we got here? Other. Okay, so let's talk about a few things that we wouldn't normally think about. Other items about this gimbal that I think is really nice. It does the updates wirelessly. So if I need to do any updates to this, I don't have to plug it into a computer. Actually, it makes it super, super simple. I just connect into the app. It's really easy just to do the app if you're not connecting a camera. You just go into the app and just hit, it will find the gimbal and you hit use gimbal and it jumps right into it. And then it will let you know if there's updates that need being done. You hit the update, you'll see it updating through the camera onto the gimbal. It's super simple and really, really easy. So let's talk about the locking system on this thing. It is really, really cool. So if I'm moving from one place to another, there are multiple locks all over this gimbal. Actually, there are 3 locks. So now this is completely locked. And if I don't want to lock it here, I can lock it there. So there are different ways I can lock this. And I guess I will just lock it back down here. So now this is completely locked, and what I can do is I can actually disconnect this and put it in a backpack or something. And honestly, I could go back and remove all this so these locks work a little bit better. So now it's locked a little bit better like that. And now I can lay it down and it's all locked and completely separate system. So that is one really nice benefit to having this. And I guess I did not hit the lock on that one. Nope, now it's locked. So what I would do is if I was moving locations at a wedding or something like that, I could just lock everything down, set it in my car, and I don't have to disconnect it, and I can pick it up and run and gun. I really like that. So let's screw it back in. So I know a lot of people are using it. They'll put it in their backpack and stuff. Put a lens cap on their thing, put it in their backpack, and they can move where they're not carrying the whole gimbal. All right. So we did talk about if your motor's shaking really bad, that means that your motor's probably working too hard and you're trying to tell them to put more effort into the motors than they need to be. So just keep that in mind. Zoom lens. So we'll talk about like a 28-75 that I'm shooting on right now. Now the really cool thing about this gimbal is the motors are super strong. So if you do have a zoom lens, what I do is I put the 28-75 on this, and then what I'll do is I'll zoom in and out throughout the day. So I try to keep it at 28 where I originally balanced it, but sometimes I got to punch into 75 to get the shot I want, and it still gives me nice, smooth shots, even though that it's not balanced for 75, it's balanced for 28 millimeters. Or if I add in a mic for something specific or a light, the motors do really well. Now, if you start getting stuff on the very front of the lens and or on the top that's super heavy, it can, if it's not balanced right, it can overpower the motors and it will just fall forward. And I've had that happen before. Also, if you're out of balance, say you're at 75, you balance for 28, don't go full pace running because it will just overpower the motor. So if you're and you know you're off balance, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't do any quick. Just do nice smooth shots and then bring it back to 28. Then you can run or move at a faster pace. One thing that I totally forgot to talk to you guys about that I skipped over is the quick release. It makes it super easy to take the camera on and off the gimbal and secure it instead of, so I can just boom and well, boom. There we go. So I really like the quick release. It makes things super easy. Follow focus system is really cool. From what I've watched on videos online, I don't personally use the follow focus system. I might one day. I have it. So I'm pretty excited when I do get the chance to use it, and it's something I need to actually put it to use. All right, so let's talk about a few things that I was not crazy about when it came to this gimbal. So like I said, I'm not a fan of the styrofoam case. I like the Crane 2 case a little bit better. But this is such a small thing to nitpick at. I'm totally, it's not that big of a deal. If that's one of the few things that bugs me about this gimbal, then that can tell you how great this gimbal is, because that is really not that big of an issue. Let's see what else we wrote down here. Okay, so when you're using this bar, and I wish there was a way to lock this bar into place, because what can happen is if you're not paying attention and you go to pick up the heavy ass gimbal and you turn, and as you're picking it up, you rotate this way, well, guess what? It starts to unscrew. So if you're not paying attention, like when I hold it, I always hold it so I'm trying to torque it more further into this piece than torque it out, right? So if you're not paying attention, there are almost a couple times I dropped it because it freaked me out because I picked it up and it started unscrewing. So I do wish they would make something that would cause this to lock into place somehow, which would be fantastic. Therefore, not allowing it to untorque when you're picking it up. And if there is a locking mechanism and I just don't know about it, like, shoot me a message. But I can't see one, so I'm guessing there is not a locking mechanism. And with all this weight, and you pick it up, if you pick it up wrong, it will just untorque. So it won't disconnect. It will just untorque, and then you just need to fix it real quick. So just keep that in mind. Batteries. Now, this was a little bit of a letdown compared to the Crane 2, where I get at least 10 hours of battery use, sometimes 12. I only got about 6 to 8 hours on these batteries. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and this is a big thing to keep in mind, is that I was using the 28 to 75, so I was zooming in and out all night long. So therefore, the motors would have to overwork from what I balanced. So anytime it wasn't at 28 millimeters, that camera was off balance, therefore causing the motors to have to overwork to keep it balanced. So one thing I guess to think about is it may have lasted longer if I balanced it at 28 millimeters and I used it all day long at 28 millimeters. Or if I'd used my 28 millimeter f2 prime lens, which is super, super lightweight. Unfortunately, it died at this last wedding because the wedding coordinator knocked over a plant with a bunch of water in it and somehow got it all over my bag. Inside my bag, on top of my bag, didn't tell me about it. I actually went to go get a lens out of there and it had water all over it. Well, the lens, however, got water into the actual lens, and now it has like a vapor, like you can see where the water dried inside the lens, so it ruined the lens. Quite frustrating. Anyways, needless to say, I didn't put the 28 prime onto the gimbal because I couldn't, because it had water all up in it, and it was frustrating. So I consisted to use the 28 to 75 till the gimbal died. And thankfully, it was like a 10-hour wedding, and I had a backup gimbal in the car, so I just jumped on that. So if you do shoot weddings, you're getting this for weddings, get a second set of batteries. I don't know how much they are. I'm going to reach out to Feiyutech and probably order some from them, from their website or whatever, because in my opinion, having an extra set of batteries, that way when it goes down, but if you have 2 sets of batteries, you're good. You're like good for 12 to like 16 hours. So so that's what I would suggest if you're getting this for weddings, and I think this is a great wedding gimbal. I really do. I was really happy with like the shots I got this last weekend and the shots I got going out to the skate park. So just think on that. When you order this, order a second set of batteries if you're going to be using it for long periods of time. Another thing that I noticed that I didn't like, make sure that you are tightening down your plate right here. If you don't tighten it down, and I mean tighten it down, it will come loose and it will slide while you're shooting or while you're making adjustments. So make sure that you do tighten that down. If you don't tighten it down tight enough, next thing you know, you hear and that's the lens like moving forwards at a slower pace. It won't just shoot to the front because it's tight enough, but it will slowly move till it becomes off balance. So there were like times that I didn't realize this till about halfway through the wedding, but there were times I would turn the gimbal off and like my camera would just fall to the front or fall backwards, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized that somehow I was not tightening this down further enough. So I wasn't torquing it down enough, and the plate was slowly moving throughout the day. So that did cause a little bit of issue. But other than that, those are like the only problems I really had with the gimbal is the battery life. I'd like it to be a little bit better, but I can order a second set of batteries, so I'm not going to throw a fit about that. The case, not that big of a deal. It doesn't even go in the case. It just sits on the case. The case goes with me to jobs, but I don't repack it in the case. This just sits out on top of the case here in the studio. So, and then of course the bar becoming loose right here. I didn't hear anybody else mention anything about it, but I'm wondering, I feel like a lot of people do these product reviews and they haven't actually like really used the product. I spent the last 3 weeks to a month using it in weddings, action, going out with skateboarding, doing time lapses. I dedicated 2 or 3 days of just B-roll for this, so I could actually get some really, really solid footage so you guys get an idea of how it really functions and how well it works. It works great with the 120 frames per second on the Sony. I mean, it just looks absolutely beautiful. Even at 60, when I'm at weddings, I shoot 1080, 60. That way I can drop it down 40% and get that nice, smooth motion. So I've been really, really happy with this gimbal. Again, at the end of this video, there will be a link so that you can go check this out, maybe purchase it if you're interested in it. If you do purchase it, it really does help us stay afloat. We get a little bit of commission off of it, and it looks good, for Feiyutech and stuff, because the product is really solid. So I would go check it out. At the very least, go read about it. Maybe watch some other reviews, get a good feel for it. I know this has been a very long review, so if you've made it this far, then I think you're really serious about purchasing this, and feel free to leave comments or shoot me a message at mediaunlocked101@gmail.com. That way I can get back with you and answer any questions that you might have. As of right now, this is going to be my go-to wedding gimbal, but I'm always going to have to bring it back up till I order another set of batteries so I can get through the whole day. Other than that, guys, I'll catch you next time. You guys have made it this far. If you want to check out our newest video, it will be right here. If you want to check out the product, it will be down here. If you do happen to click on it and purchase it, it does give us a little bit of commission, and that helps me a lot keep making these videos. And of course, guys, right down below, go and leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, follow along. We'll catch you next time.